Alright.
Considering that my knowledge now is much better than it was before, mostly due to your comments, putting that math, giving me further explanation on how some mechanics work, especially with warfare, and some other stuff as well, I've decided to do builds update for the oldest builds that I did for Divinity Original Sin 2, because lots of things can be improved upon. Let's start with Battle Cleric. My first ever build. At this point I had least amount of knowledge on how things work, and this is how you should build your Battle Cleric. What I would do here is either divide Constitution and Strength, or put most of the points into Strength and the rest into Constitution, couple of points into Memory as well. Intelligence we do not need. I'll explain when we get to spell section. Wits, no need. This is not a DPS build, so critical chance wouldn't mean that much, and there's no point in getting points into that. Much better if you put into Constitution to increase your survivability. This is how I would put points into combat abilities. Put couple of points only into single-handed, mostly to get that accuracy bonus so that you don't miss your attacks. Leadership is a thing that I like to put on my tank. This particular tank that I'm building, the Battle Cleric, is so tough to kill that he does not need boost from leadership. It's much more efficient for him to get that aura to others around him. For example, if you put Dual Will Berserker next to this tank, that Dual Will Berserker will get all the bonuses to dodging and resistance. Considering that the Dual Will Berserker build that I did already has a high amount into dodge, with this bonus it's going to be even tougher for enemies to hit him. Plus all the resistance beauties that you get with it. Most of the points I would put in Hydrosophist and Geomancer, because they directly buff the spells we are going to use. We are not going to use spells that are increased with intelligence. We are going to use spells only that are increased through skills. 1 point into warfare, but you would be pretty wise if you put 2 points or 3 to get all the necessary warfare skills. From talents, this is my choice: Elemental Affinity to reduce spell cost when standing in the surface of an element. We are wielding 2 elements, so that might prove to be very useful. Far Out Man, Living Armor, Mnemonic, Opportunist. If you want, switch something for all skilled up, Bigger and Better, Comeback Kid, or more resistances with Ice King or Demon. Up to you really what you want. Walk It Off is also good. There is also a cool tactic you can use with tank. It's called Unstable. When you explode, when you die, for 50% of your maximum vitality. That's a huge damage, and also if you combine that with Comeback Kid, you will get back to life. So that's a pretty cool strategy that someone pointed out in comments, but personally I would not use it. Getting this guy to death is pain in the ass for the enemies. Amount of punishment Battle Cleric can sustain is pretty ridiculous. I've played with my Battle Cleric through the whole game on Tactician difficulty, and he was always the last one to die. He was always healthy while others were dying, if that was the case. Usually I'm really not dying at all, but with him not ever dying unless the whole party wipes and then he's solo against 4 of them, makes Unstable plus Comeback Kid a bit pain in the ass to use, because it will take a long time for enemies to bring down your Battle Cleric. But it's still an optional thing. If you want to go for it, why not? Be crazy with the builds. This game allows it. Use melee weapon, because we are focusing on melee damage. This is not a DPS build, but if we're doing damage, we're going to do melee damage and focus on that. And that's how we are going to arrange the spells. Now I'm going to explain the skills and spells so that you understand why I did this, why I put points into strength and constitution, and why I'm focusing on that without intelligence. As you can see, blank slate. So let's start. Battering ram, resisted by physical armor, so when we get that down through our party members or through ourselves, is going to knock down enemies, and it's also good mobility skill. Battle Stomp, knock down, fantastic. Enrage, also good. Blitz attack, good for mobility. Bouncing shield is extremely damaging. It can bounce to another enemy and it completely annihilates enemies' physical armor. Guardian Angel, allies in melee range redirect 50% of received damage to you, essential for any tank. Phoenix Dive for mobility, provoke to taunt enemies around you to attack you. Deflective Barrier is useful because it provides you with more physical armor and it reflects the projectiles back at the caster, which means you're going to reflect the damage done to you to the guy that was casting the spell or shooting an arrow at you. I already have that one with my shield. It's shield from Linder Chem, the guy in Arcs. So I'm going to remove that, but you should use it. Now we are going to the spells section. The only things that you need here are Armor of Frost to restore magic armor, Cleanse Wounds, Rain, Restoration, Soothing Cold, Cryogenic Stasis, Healing Ritual. If you have a couple of points into Arrow Turret, you can go for Uncanny Evasion, very useful. Fortify Earthquake mainly because it knocks down enemies when they do not have any more physical armor, and we are destroying physical armor with party members and with Bouncing Shield and with our melee attacks. It's not good as DPS class, but we still do some damage to physical armor. If you're focusing on magical damage with your group, then you can go for Worm Tremor. This will entangle enemies because it's resisted by magic armor. And from the Necromancer tree, you obviously use Bless. From the Necromancer tree, Bloodsucker is optional. As I said, always I don't like this skill. Bone Cage, definitely use that. It can buff your physical armor significantly. It won't remove effects like Fortify will, but it can get your physical armor to insane amounts. Decaying Touch is resisted by physical armor, but it receives bonus from intelligence. We are not doing Decaying Touch to damage the enemy. We are going to do some damage, but not anything relevant. The point is that if you do decay, the enemy cannot heal, and afterwards you can follow up with Healing Ritual on a couple of enemies if they are undead, or Restoration, or anything that heals to that same enemy that you put decay on, and they will receive tons of damage, because every single Hydrosophist skill that we've used doesn't scale with intelligence. It only scales with Hydrosophist skill tree. It works perfectly with this build. In fact, also resisted by physical armor, so definitely useful. Living on the Edge, Death Resist for 2 turns, definitely useful. And for the last, I would suggest raise Bone Widow, even without summoning ability. This thing is powerful. You can also raise Bloated Corpse. Mosquito Swarm is as well resisted by physical armor, but it's situational, and if you have memory slots, use it. If not, forget about it. It would be better to use Spot for something like Mass Cleanse Wounds or Steam Lance. And that's it for Battle Cleric. I think it's much more clearer now, and that's how you should build your Battle Cleric. Now let's focus on the Assassin. Assassin build was really controversial. High crit chance is not necessary at all, but with it you get benefits of attacking from any position on the battlefield without the need to go into backstab and dealing really good amount of damage. If you want to maximize your damage, then you need to use this build that I'm about to show you. Also, with high critical chance, your attacks of opportunity will deal automatic critical hits, which is not the case if you're using this build that I'm about to show you. So my build definitely has got advantages in certain places, but the maximum amount of damage is done with the build like this. To get maximum amount of damage from rogue's backstabs, you need to put maximum amount of points into finesse. So that means go 40 with finesse, and gear can boost it up to around 50, maybe 55. That's a huge boost to your base damage. Your critical rises if your base damage is higher, obviously. The rest of the points you can put in wits. From the abilities, maximize warfare, scoundrel, and the rest of the points put into dual wielding, with 1 point into polymorph. I've also added a couple of points into necromancy so that I can heal myself with huge damage that I'm dealing, so that my healer doesn't need to focus on me. From the talents, if you're using my build with the highest amount of critical chance possible, then go for Executioner. If you're using this build with finesse where you need to go to backstab position, then use Pawn instead of Executioner. These two are incompatible, so you need to decide which one you want. As for the rest of the things, Glass Cannon is optional, it's risky, but I feel like it's very rewarding. Hothead gives you more critical chance and more accuracy, very important. Opportunist, don't need to explain that. Parrymaster gives you more dodging. So this is how it would look like with my build, and this is how it would look like with finesse build. I'm at level 20, so it's pretty much endgame build. You will get critical chance 74% with 2 rune slots on your magic amulet. If you have 3 slots, then with 1 more giant flame rune equipped onto that amulet, you'll get 86%. That is huge. So we do maximum amount of damage with finesse and also get a lot of critical chance. To increase it even more to about 91%, get yourself both daggers that have plus 5% critical chance. One of mine has it, one of mine doesn't have it. Boost your wits through the gear, and you can equip on your daggers Mystical Giant Masterwork rune. That means combining Masterwork rune with Mystical Frame. That will give you even more wits and also plus 15% damage as physical from the Masterwork rune. That's it. That's the ultimate build for Assassin. From the Polymorph tree, use Chicken Claw and Chameleon Cloak. Fantastic combination that was posted in comments is if you go for Chicken Claw and afterwards use Ruptured Tendons. That way Chicken will run away, and when it is running away it will constantly take damage from Ruptured Tendons. Brilliant tactic from one of the viewers. Thank you, mate. Really useful. As for the ultimate wizard build that I did, if you want to get the maximum out of your wizard, do this. My build works perfectly fine. It's just not been maximized, that's it. But it will still wreck anything that you put in front of it. For the stats, I would put maximum amount in wits. That means with gear you can get it at about 50 to 55. Intelligence, rest of the points, boost it through your gear as well. This is pure critical build and it does insane amount of damage. As for the combat abilities, maximize your two-handed perk because of the critical multiplier and increased damage. One of the Geomancer or Pyrokinetic should be put to 5 so that you can use ultimate ability from that tree, while the other one can be at 3, for example. Rest of the points put either into Huntsman or into Scoundrel, doesn't matter. Huntsman benefits from high ground, Scoundrel benefits from critical hits. Scoundrel increases your critical multiplier even more, so your crits will be even more damaging. And it also doesn't depend on the high ground. Default from high ground bonus is 20%. You can boost that with Huntsman, but I honestly would put rather points into Scoundrel to boost multiplier even more, because sometimes you won't be able to use high ground. And you always have default bonus of 20% from high ground. So that's it. I hope I cleared some of these things out. Obviously this can be also changed to many other ways. I'm just focusing on my own builds and how to correct them. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Toodaloo, motherfucker. Hey.